6 months after its announcement, people are still waiting for the Canon RF 100 to 300mm f2.8. Now we're being told that the RF 200 to 500mm f4 is delayed until the second half of 2024, and that the recently announced Canon RF 200 to 800mm f6.3 to 9 only got a limited production run. With huge demand, you could be waiting a long time for this lens. So what's going on? Well, stick around after this short message for all the details. But first, subscribe to this channel for a chance to win a Canon EOS R5. I'll be giving one away to one lucky subscriber once this channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. Anyone above the age of 18 with a valid mailing address is eligible. Additional terms and conditions are linked in the description down below. Canon Rumors says, we've been told that the Canon RF 200 to 500mm f4 image stabilized USM has been delayed until the second half of 2024. The source claims part of it is meeting the demand for the previously announced RF 100 to 300mm f2.8 L image stabilized USM, as waiting 6 months for a lens isn't the best situation for a company or the consumer. And this really isn't a good place for a company to be in. I mean, if you've worked hard researching and developing a whole bunch of products and services, only to find out that you're unable to get enough product out to the consumers to meet demand, to produce revenue for your shareholders, that's a pretty bad situation to be in. And so that's the situation we're seeing with the 100 to 300mm. Canon didn't anticipate the demand enough for that lens, and 6 months later we're not getting enough of those lenses to consumers. But that brings us to another lens, the recently announced Canon RF 200 to 800mm. The RF 200 to 800mm f6.9 to 3 was announced on November the 2nd, 2023. And demand for that lens has exceeded all forecasts by Canon retailers and pundits alike. And it's broken sales records. Because Canon didn't expect the demand to be as high as it is, the initial production run was rather small. Since 2020, we're pretty familiar with production delays. Now back in 2020 leading up to 2022, the single most reason for, production delays was a complete shutdown of the entire logistics chain. Every factory everywhere on the planet was shut down for a certain period of time, and when they started back up, there were huge delays, because what happened was while we were all at home and not working, guess what happened? There was a huge demand to purchase stuff online, and that really backed things up there. So there was this huge demand, and only now, here at the end of 2023, are we starting to see things get back to normal. Only in the last month have we seen car inventory levels start to return to normal. In fact, many dealers in the United States are actually facing situations where they've got far more inventory than they expected. They're offering deals, they're offering rebates, and yes, part of that is because they jacked up prices by some 50%. But we're seeing the supply chain pretty much return to normal in many parts of the world. But in 2023, we're dealing with slightly different issues. Now, what happened in China probably around 2021 to 2022 and actually into 2023 is they were rather aggressive. They had a rather aggressive policy toward, and these were called, I'll call them shutdowns. I can't mention the reason why, because I'll get demonetized on YouTube for bringing up that one term. But essentially, we all know why the shutdowns occurred, and that happened right up until 2023. And if you are a factory producing lenses, car parts, or other integrated circuits, guess what? You weren't producing products. So we were finally coming out of that malaise of 2020 to 2022, only to have these shutdowns, and something else started to happen in the marketplace. A lot of, large companies such as Apple, Canon, Nikon, Toyota, they decided to start moving their production out of China because of this and moving it to other parts of the world. And one of the reasons why businesses flocked to China, there was two reasons. One was cheap labor rates. And the other reason? The other reason was a favorable policy. And here in 2023, that favorable policy has all but disappeared. And those labor rates, other countries such as Thailand are offering better rates. So we've seen a mass migration of major companies away from China. And so here we are at the end of 2023. The main reason why we're seeing these delays in lenses such as the 100 to 300mm, and we're likely going to see a delay in the 200 to 800mm, is for one very simple reason. an inability to properly predict the demand for certain products and to be able to gear up your logistics supply chain in order to get those products to the marketplace. We saw that with the 100 to 300 millimeter, and because that's backed up, apparently, according to Canon rumors, that's affecting the 200 to 500 millimeter f4 L series image stabilized USM. And of course, what other sources are telling me is that, well, that's also going to be impacting the 200 to 800 millimeter. And again, in the situation with that lens, it's because Canon didn't anticipate the demand being as large as it is. I mean, the demand for this lens has kind of completely blown me away. I've never seen as many pre-orders for a single product in 4 years of doing this channel. And we had the Canon EOS R5, the Sony a7S III, the Nikon Z8, the Nikon Z9. We've seen a lot of pretty impressive products come out in the camera world. But this, the 200 to 800 millimeter, well, it's blown those away, like the Nikon Z8, which was very popular, more than 3 times the amount of products pre-ordered compared to the Nikon Z8. That's for the 200 to 800 alone. That's just from B&H. On Adorama, it's just absolutely staggering how much demand there is for this lens. So if what I'm being told is true, that Canon didn't anticipate the demand for the 200 to 800 to be anywhere close to where it is, we can expect to wait as much as 6 months. As bad as things are for the 100 to 300 millimeter, we can expect that for the 200 to 800 millimeter f6.3 to 9. And I hope these sources are getting it wrong. I hope Canon rumors is wrong. I hope my source is wrong. But based on what we've seen before is that Canon seems to have a bit of a problem with their supply chain at meeting demand for products that are in high demand. I mean, we saw this for the R7. We saw this for a whole bunch of lenses. And we saw it with the R6 Mark II. So hopefully things do work their way out. And we are seeing a lot of deals on right now. Like you can see that Canon's clearing inventory, like the Canon EOS R5 and the R5C, still today are $900 off. And that started with Black Friday, and that sale being on still today tells us that this is an inventory clearing event because Canon's getting ready to announce the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. But if you're looking at buying gear from Adorama, B&H, or Amazon.com, then please consider using my affiliate links down below. These ones right here are the ones in the description because I get a commission back for every purchase, and it really does help fund this channel. All the pre-orders for the 200 to 800 millimeter are really going to help set me up for 2024. I'm going to be pre-ordering the Canon EOS R5 Mark II as soon as I can, the Canon EOS R1, as well as some other lenses. I don't know which ones yet because I haven't seen any specs. Although if that 35 millimeter f1.2 or f1.4 comes out, I'll probably get that as well. And what about the 24 to 105 f2.8? I might get that lens as well. But thank you for everybody who has pre-ordered from this channel, that has bought stuff using my affiliate links down below. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to stay up to date on all the major camera news and rumors, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. But also follow me on Twitter, or it's called X now, because whenever there's sales out, I will tweet that out, and the firmware update for the R6, the R8, the R7, the R10, the R50, the R3, I didn't do a video on that because it was really a very, very, very minor update. All it was allowing the RFS 10 to 18 millimeter to function, as well as some minor bug fixes for pretty well all the cameras, so I just tweeted that out. So if you want to stay up to date on everything, don't forget to follow me on Twitter or X as well. But that's it for now. Have yourself a great weekend, and we'll see you again soon.